We're talking Late Night with the Devil today on Gene and Roger Talk Movies. Currently playing on Shudder, just started its streaming last night. Coming off the theatrical release, it was in theaters for about a month and a half, I think. Maybe still is playing out there somewhere, but Gene and I sat down, we decided to watch it, and here we are to talk about it.
Here
Gene,
we are.
what are your thoughts on Late Night with the Devil?
Late Night with the Devil. Yeah, Roger, where do you find these things? We were just talking about that. But Late Night with the Devil, like, I'm an old guy, right? And I watched Johnny Carson when I was a kid.
Right.
You know, I have a first person memory of watching that guy on TV, and he would have like the amazing Kreskin, and he would have his various visitors. So when this show, it pays homage to that era of golden TV, you know, because there were Johnny Carson, Late Night, it was NBC, and he had his competitors, David Letterman. There were some other shows.
Letterman wasn't a competitor.
That was later?
Letterman followed after his show.
Oh, okay, but they had other competitors, like on ABC.
Yeah, you had Chevy Chase's stupid show that lasted for like a month.
That.
You had Joan Rivers' stupid show.
Yeah, but ABC had other things.
Arsenio Hall.
Yeah, Arsenio Hall, but ABC mainly had like their that evening news. I remember. Yeah, it kind of started with the American-Iranian hostage crisis.
Right, Nightline.
Yeah. So they would do that nightly, and sometimes I'd watch that, and sometimes late at night I'd be watching Johnny Carson. But then I'd flip the channel, and on the ABC affiliate in Denver, I'd watch old MASH rerun. But this movie brought me back to that, and because this movie is all about this competitor with Johnny Carson. He's trying to catch up to Johnny Carson on the late night ratings. And of course he's going to fail because Johnny Carson was the king. He was unbeatable, and he was never conquered on the late night TV.
Right.
Yeah, and so this guy was trying to do everything, pull out all the stops, and so finally he is a nefarious producer. They started to go down the route of was it Jimmy or like Larry? What's that guy?
Well, he was trying to do sensational stuff.
Yeah, like some of that. What's the guy name of that?
Jerry Springer.
Jerry Springer. He's going down the Jerry Springer route, and so that wasn't entirely successful. But yeah, on this particular show they brought in some like and this movie is also an homage to the horror genre of found footage.
Right.
Which you have to appreciate, and some found footage is not very good, and some is just fantastic. You know, Blair Witch Project brings to mind. But this movie is pretty good. It's pretty good for its found footage, because what happens is that all of a sudden people realize that terrible things happened on this particular episode of this guy's show. And so there's like a review of all the tape of that show. And so in that tape, it's revealed what's happened, and I give props to this movie for having good storytelling, because they slowly build up the tension. You know, they so slowly ratchet things up. But it's just, I think this movie falls into a trap at the very end, and you see this happen with horror movies. It's sometimes that you're telling a really great story. You have a great idea. You're going in a great direction with horror, because I think horror is, again, some deformation of the human form. Some it should kind of bother you on a visceral level. It should make you feel really uncomfortable. And this movie was going in that direction, but then oftentimes what you see is like there's just an over-reliance on special effects. And when that happens, it almost universally just kind of blows it. And so this movie falls in that direction right when the absolute climax of the movie is happening. People are dying, heads are being turned, homage to The Exorcist. You know, the lady gets her neck cut. The guy the skeptic is on his knees praying that he's going to be a servant to the devil.
Right.
It's funny how he just turned.
Yeah.
Yeah, but and then all of a sudden, lightning bolts come out of her arms, and her head splits, and it's just becomes like a silly light show, like right there. And so it kind of lost it for me there. But this movie overall, I would say it's got some flaws for sure. But overall, I would say this movie's pretty good. Yeah, if you're looking for a good, entertaining horror movie, I mean, it's not scary, but it's super interesting. It's a great story. Will it keep your attention? Will you like it? Yeah. If you're a horror fan, you're going to like this movie. And even if you're, even if you're a young person, like I started talking about Johnny Carson and all that, but even if you're young, you have no idea who Johnny Carson is, I think you'd still like this movie.
Yeah, I do think because it does set the tone of the mid 70s, right? The beginning part of it is really nice because there's like a 10-minute kind of montage at the beginning, which gives you the backstory of this talk show. It's called
narrator.
Night Owl.
There's a narrator.
And you're setting the tone of the 70s, and here's this guy. He's going to debut his show, and it kind of the ups and downs of his show and how it never can match Johnny Carson. It can't ever beat it in the ratings.
Never.
You've got a lot of real footage of what was going on in the 70s. And then it goes to the movie proper of, we've got this videotape that's never really been seen. It's basically the guy's final show. And I just think structurally...
It is his final show.
Right. Structurally, this would have been, to me anyway, I would have liked had they actually kept that introductory 5-10 minute sequence and then basically created the idea that this is the first time we've seen what really happened on this guy's last show, and then it just runs as if you were actually up late at night watching the show. So instead of all the backstage stuff when they cut to commercial, it would have just ran a couple commercials right there. So it would have really sucked you into the idea that, here I am just late at night watching a late night talk show, and it's this forbidden film episode that no one's ever seen, and it's just spooling out in front of me, because they do a lot of they cut to commercial, and then they try to set a lot of conflict behind the scenes and all this stuff.
With the guy's producer, and it was that's a good observation, Roger. I think that doesn't really add any to the story.
Right.
Do I need to know about this animalistic, hard driving producer who's forcing the late night host to go I think in a direction he really doesn't want to go? Do I need to know about this guy? No, he doesn't further the plot. He doesn't add to the scary element of the movie. It's just really kind of an irritating character. And if you had done that, just cut to a regular commercial, the movie would have been more authentic.
Right, and I think when looking at something like Blair Witch Project, it goes and here's the footage, here it is, and then the movie's over. And I just think trying to replicate, here's what a person in 1975 up late at night watching this TV show, that's how it would have played out. And I think it would have been a lot better as far as a found footage movie goes. And I think overall better as a film. I do not like it as much as Gene does. I do recommend it, of course, but it's not a film I'm ever going to watch again. But I probably would have had it been playing like it's this forbidden episode of, did the David Letterman show or the Johnny Carson show, and we found this old grainy tape that no one wants you to see.
Right, and, David Letterman's last show.
And you could have even structured it like there was, what did happen, and the media said, it was like some outbreak of a disease or something, and people just happened to die, and then no, here's really what happened.
Really happened, right?
And
right.
It would have been, I think, a little cooler movie. I do like the main character talk show host guy. I think his name is Jack. Is that right? And I
didn't write anything down.
Yeah.
I just watched it for the first time just late at night last night.
Right, late night with the devil.
Yeah,
watching
late night
it late
with
at
the devil.
night, right?
Yeah.
But the actor who plays him is definitely got that smarmy 70s kind of vibe going about him, and
right.
so that you do feel like you're back in the 70s. I also liked his little sidekick band leader guy who's just you're just the sidekick character to a T.
Yep, exactly. Yeah, I wish this movie it would have just avoid the special effects. That's why I think sometimes the lower budget horror movies are actually a lot better, because they just don't have the budget for special effects, and so they have to be reliant on the quality of their writing, Well, sometimes using quality of writing for low budget horror. They don't go hand in hand. But sometimes, you catch lightning in a bottle, it's low budget, and it's just great because they have to go back to old fashioned just storytelling.
Mm-hmm.
And you tell your story, and it's horrific and it's disturbing, and yeah. But again, they went down the road of special effects, and again, I like it. I like movies that don't spell it out for you, and this movie has a ambiguous ending, which I like. It makes for good back and forth talk with your friends that you've watched the movie with.
Mm-hmm. Well, and I do like the girl that plays the possessed. Her name's Lily, I think, or something like that.
You mean the handler or the little girl?
No, the little girl.
The little girl is good. Yeah.
I like how when they bring her out, and of course she's possessed. There's this skeptic who's on the show as well, who's trying to debunk everything that's happening on the show.
Right.
But
it's pretty effective too.
Yeah, and I just loved how the little girl just kept staring directly at the camera. And so she was always trying to find where the camera was, which of course is a faux pas, but she's looking straight into it. But as you learn more, it's like, oh, this is a demon-possessed child that's trying to find a way out, looking where to go through these camera lenses and stuff like that. So I liked that. I liked how she was also this super pleasant girl.
Right.
And you knew that there was something really dangerous underneath that pleasantry.
Yeah, she's revealed, and they pay homage to the Exorcist here, because when her demon possession manifests itself, clearly, she changes from a pleasant girl. Mm-hmm. You can tell that all of a sudden she's a boy, but her facial figures change, and the sound of her voice, changes. I mean, just like, in the movie The Exorcist. And so, but I wish that they just continued more of that, and taken that road.
Right. And what did you think about the mass hypnosis sequence from the skeptic guy?
It was interesting because he tries to disprove things that had happened before in the movie, and he has this hypnosis sequence, and I guess he hypnotizes the cohort, and then he tears his body open because he has a phobia, I guess, against worms of all things.
Right.
I don't know how you have a phobia against worms. I mean,
well, all sorts of phobias out there.
Yeah, that's
so
true.
I'm sure it
Exists, but anyway, worms. He had a bad experience when he was a kid. He's got phobia against worms, and so he gets hypnotized by the skeptic guy, and then he pulls his stomach open and worms come out, and this huge worm comes out of his head. But it turns out it's all not real because this guy hypnotized us. So it's like kind of like a trick. Mm-hmm. And so it's I kind of didn't like it because it's like, in a way, it says that it's oh, never mind, it didn't really happen. It's a hypnosis trick, and so it was like just a visual thing, and it never really happened because that guy, they tried to replicate that later, and he couldn't do it. He tries to open up his stomach, and he can't pull his stomach open. And so it was just a visual trick, so it feels a little
Well, I like
contrived.
how they ran the footage back, right? Because they're in the studio, and they're like, well, let's see that footage again.
Right. They ran the footage back.
And then none of that actually happened. And so I actually really loved that part because not only had he hypnotized everybody in the audience, they're also implying that he's hypnotized the entire viewing
audience.
I'm watching
as well.
this movie at night, and now I've also been hypnotized. And I really enjoyed that kind of meta commentary thing going on there about how films can sometimes hypnotize you, and visual images, you're actually hypnotized. It's not real. It did feel out of place, however, in the film. And then when they show the possessed girl footage, which is the same as what you saw. And so that was kind of the catalyst for him kind of like, okay, I don't know if this is real or fake.
Yeah, I could see they set up some kind of parallelism because there's the hypnotic sequence. The guy opens his stomach. Oh, let's replay the actual footage, and none of it really happens.
Right.
And so they wanted to replay the footage of the demon possession sequence. And so that's when they replay it. But when you do a replay, it gives you a little power as the editor, so you can really slow things down. And so they slow things down and they go by frame. And they notice that right behind the host is like a ghost of his dead wife.
Right.
Yeah, and so the host, he just constantly starts to lose it.
Right.
Yeah,
right.
yeah. The movie starts to really the movie reaches its climax right there because he knows right there that this is actually happening.
That's real. Yeah.
It's real.
And there's
it's
been
not some hypnosis trick. It's actually happening.
And there's been clues for him throughout the whole show because there's this like psychic guy who's kind of a fake, but then turns out no, he really knows what he's talking about, and he mentions a name like Minnie or something.
Minnie, yeah, which
and
is
then the
her
host,
nickname.
Yeah, the host is like, wow, that was the nickname I gave my wife that no one knew about. It was just between me and my wife. And so he starts getting this doubt like, oh, maybe this stuff is kind of real, and it just progresses from there. But overall, I think the film is a pretty unique presentation. So it's not a run-of-the-mill film that you've seen this type of thing before. I do think they capture the 70s era really well, especially with that history lesson there in the first 10 minutes. I did like that setup.
Right.
And I liked his suit, of course, because it's got the giant collars, which is very 70s,
Yeah, the handler for the demon girl, she's like dressed all in a pants suit.
Right. Oh, yeah. No,
yeah,
so they
way 80s.
They definitely did their
Although
research.
this is mid-70s.
Yeah. And anything else really to talk about this one, Gene?
Yeah, if you're a horror movie fan, I would say you need to see this thing. It's Shudder. It's unique. We've seen a lot of found footage movies, but usually found footage movies fall into the realm of like, oh, I'm walking along and I found a videotape recorder. Even Blair Witch Project is like that. And so this is different. This is found footage of like an actual TV broadcast on a major network. Yeah, so it's a different take on the found footage, genre for sure. And the movie works. Again, I wish they hadn't gone down the special effects route, because then all of a sudden it's made me think of some kind of Disney thing, Escape from Witch Mountain or something.
With significantly more violence and blood.
Yeah, I mean there are.
Little Kim Richards was not getting her throat slashed in Escape from Witch Mountain.
Kim Richards. Oh my Lord. Is she still around?
Of course she's still around.
She's still around.
Yeah.
I wonder.
She's our age.
No way.
Yeah.
I thought she'd be a little bit older. Anyway, so yeah, they go special effects route, and it just kind of blows it a little bit. I know it blows it a lot, at least for me. Maybe other viewers are watching. It won't bother them.
Yeah, I'm actually okay with the ending.
Yeah. But to go ahead and give it a shot, I would definitely. There are other horror movies that are true horror for me. It gets onto on the realm of it's disturbing to you, but this movie doesn't approach that at all. It tries to, but just doesn't quite get there.
Yeah, and I think, like I said earlier, had they set it up kind of more like you're actually watching this forbidden tape that you're not supposed to see, and it just wouldn't have all the behind the scenes stuff, and it would have just been, here's the original unedited videotape of what happened that night, and you've got your commercials in there when they go to commercial break, and then you're coming back. I think it would have been more unsettling.
Right, because they do try to leave some clues when you're backstage, because there's this producer guy, and he tries to leave clues like they're having technical difficulties. And it's supposed to like heighten the tension, but it doesn't really, it's not really effective.
All of those scenes are also in black and white, which is interesting that they chose to do that. But I do recommend it. It's horror films, there's a lot that are exactly like another one. This one is kind of unique in its setting and the way it's trying to do its thing. So definitely worth a look. Gene, any plans for next week?
We go by the seat of our pants. So I don't know.
Well, I was listening to an older episode of ours where we talked about Bride of Chucky maybe being a show we should do sometime. Are you ready for Bride of Chucky?
You mean the Chucky Part 3?
This would be 4. Bride of Chucky.
No, Bride of Chucky's 3.
4.
It's 4. Are you sure?
Yeah, there's Child's Play. Then there's Child's Play 2 and 3. 3's the one where he's at the little military academy.
I've never seen that one.
And then you get Bride
The
of
Bride
Chucky.
of Chucky. I kind of like The Bride of Chucky. It's a cartoon, though. It sounds scary. It deals with like spells. You have to say this magic spell.
Well, and you've got Jennifer Tilly in there playing the Bride of Chucky, so you can't really lose.
Yeah, she's a fun character.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But anyway, as
I
usual.
remember her big movie for me was like Liar Liar with Jim Carrey.
No, well, okay.
Yeah.
My big Jennifer Tilly movie is Bride of Chucky.
The Bride of Chucky. I love it. Yeah, why not? We don't have any other plans. Although I have heard that Nicolas Cage, who is quite the prolific actor, has made a horror movie, and it's coming out soon.
Well, we could also look at Willy's Wonderland, which was the much better version, in my opinion, of Five Nights at Freddy's. But anyway,
Is that the movie where he doesn't talk?
Yeah, oh, that's why I love it
Is it
so
horror?
much. Well, there's these animatronic creatures that are possessed by the devil or some sort of entity trying to kill him.
We did review Five Nights at Freddy.
The whole point of that little cafe thing is they entice people to go in there just to get sacrificed to those creatures. But
Maybe we should watch that.
I just love it just because Nicolas Cage has no dialogue in the entire film. People are talking directly to him and he never responds. We will definitely do something next week.
Yeah, let's do the Nicolas Cage movie. I would be more intrigued with that because I've seen Bride of Chucky, and it's just like, come on, you just say a spell and the dude comes back.
All right.
They spent a lot of time in a trailer.
Check out Late Night with the Devil, currently on Shudder if you've got Shudder. And if you don't have Shudder and you're listening to our podcast, get Shudder. Come on. All these horror movies are on there.
I mean, come on. And I think we're going to go, there's talk of us going video soon.
Well, yeah, Gene definitely wants to do video. We'll see how that plays out. But we will catch you next week. Bye-bye.
Bye.